Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Business Plays. In this one, I saw an article, I basically just headlined it, I think, that was saying that Bing is not actually a failure, and I kind of assumed that Bing was a pretty massive failure. Turns out, it's kind of not really. Today we're gonna look at why. I'm not gonna spoil it, we're just gonna go through it. I had Steve put this together, thank you very much, Steve. He's titled it, and I think this is a great title, Microsoft Side Hustle, like implying it's some little thing they do on the side, which it kind of is. I don't know if my side hustle, which is kind of this channel right now, was making me however many billions, I'd be pretty happy. But let's crack on with it, shall we? By the way, this was a suggestion from me. This is something I wanted to see. If you've got something you'd like to see on Business Plays, use the comments below. Bing is well known as a search engine, but it's struggled to make an impact in comparison to Google. Not that Microsoft hasn't put a lot of time and money into challenging the market leader. What started off as MSN Search 20 years ago was rebranded as Bing in 2009. I remember MSN Search, and MSN Messenger is pretty crap. Despite giving it everything they had, including a promotional campaign with the slogan, Bing it on, Microsoft couldn't topple Google as the go-to destination for information seekers. The very fact that Bing it on is something I've never heard of is a pretty big testament to the fact that this was not a success. I glanced at this before we went through it today, and I looked up the video, like the promotional videos of Bing it on. It got so many thumbs down. It was one of those videos you see on YouTube where it's like 90% thumbs down and like 10% thumbs up, and you're like, the exclusive domain of companies getting it wrong.
It's rewind time.
So, and I actually thought the ad was quite entertaining. It was basically like this guy trying to show that Bing was as good as Google. I tried Bing a few years ago, and it was definitely not as good as Google. I tried Bing just before we did this video today to kind of brief myself on what is the status of Bing. It was pretty good. Like, I Googled things that I wanted a reservation for a restaurant this weekend. I'd Googled it earlier in the day, I Binged it. Bing gave me the same results. I was quite pleased with Bing. The result is that Bing has a small share of the market, but there's one tiny detail you're overlooking. The naysayers nay, yet Bing still, well, keeps on binging. It celebrates a decade online this year, 2019, in case you're watching this in the far distant future. Maybe in that far distant future, everyone is binging things all the time. I somehow doubt it. And here's some more information that will surprise you. Since 2016, Bing has been very profitable. Microsoft's search engine has been described as a side hustle or extra income. However, it's a side hustle that makes billions of dollars a year, but that's a small beer for a giant corporate giant, but it's a refreshing one nonetheless. So how does Bing make money if consumers haven't taken to the product? Well, the answer is market dominance. Because Windows is installed on only 75% of the world's computers, it means Microsoft get to choose what default program you use. I thought this was something Microsoft got into a lot of trouble for in the 90s. Wasn't Bill Gates like in court for weeks? Didn't Netscape want to sue him or something? I thought they couldn't do that anymore. I'm probably just misunderstanding it. Anyway, but yeah, like the times I've used Bing, I bought a Windows computer for the first time in like 10 years. I load up Internet Explorer to download Google, and I get Microsoft Edge or whatever it's called these days to download Google, and have to run a Bing search to get Google because that's what's built in. That's the only time I've used Bing other than my little test right now. But it's terrible back in the day. Now it's not so bad. The upshot is that Bing is used by a reported 1.3 billion people. Good lord, a lot of people are accidentally using the wrong search engine. I'm assuming they're not like, yeah, I definitely wanted Bing. In this sense, Bing is a successful search engine. Major players such as Microsoft and Apple know that physical hardware is king, so they focus much of their attention on products like desktop computers and handheld devices. When you control the manufacturing, you're inevitably in charge of what consumers see on their screens. Yeah, this is true. This is my Edge story. Reported 26% of UK searches are conducted with Bing, and a third in the US? That's crazy. This stuff is sourced, but that is crazy. Like, again, it's just I assume people accidentally binging. It takes a lot more than simply installing Bing as a default program to turn a healthy profit, though. Apparently, I guess, maybe? Like, it seems to be working quite well, but I guess there's more to this. Let's continue. Bing's market share can be partially put down to innovation. Really? The brand has gotten positive reviews for its inclusion in Microsoft's various initiatives, such as the Bing API and its work in artificial intelligence. Something I know nothing about, but there you go. By making Bing an essential part of cutting-edge projects, Microsoft has ensured that the hustle keeps on hustling. Along the way, it's created some genuine customer satisfaction too. Like me and my Bing experience today. It was a good one. Bing also has a better reputation for privacy than Google, which is something that I think back in 2009 people probably didn't care quite so much about privacy, but now they really do. In 2018, Wired lined up the two engines, that's Bing and Google, and got a surprisingly good reception. To quote, "If Google's data hoovering didn't creep you out before, its attitude towards location tracking and Google Plus privacy failings should. And while privacy-focused search engines like DuckDuckGo further solve that problem, Bing is the most full-featured alternative out there. It's the logical first stop on the express train out of Google Town." And I think that's the thing, like, I use Google all the time, and I know the privacy stuff is not the best, evidenced right here, but I'm like, Google's really good. I don't even know what DuckDuckGo is. I've heard of it. I just assume it's bad. Like, I generally assume all other search engines are bad. The other key factors driving Bing's success are, of course, web search, advertising revenue, and the collection of personal data. Wait. What? I guess this is, you can collect personal data and use it for advertising purposes and stuff without it being like a major privacy concern, but it still freaks me out when I like searched Scotch whiskey 3 weeks ago and I'm still getting ads for Scotch whiskey. Oh my god, Masterclass. Anyone else get Masterclass ads on YouTube? They won't leave me alone. I spent the last week, David Baldacci, or however you say his name, I have seen his face so many times.
He has a dark side to him.
He has a dark side to him.
I've never bought anything from Masterclass. They gave me one course because they sponsored a video, and it's risky here. They're probably not going to sponsor again, but it wasn't very good. Oh, and also, we didn't do that video. So they gave me a free course. It wasn't very good. We didn't do the video. Advertising on Bing nets Microsoft approximately $7.5 billion on an annual basis. And because Microsoft is so huge, it has access to masses of data over which they have a duty to act responsibly. I'm saying that with as straight a face as possible. Yeah, I mean, okay, but every big company has this. It's not such a big deal. There has also been some financial arm twisting. 2013 saw Siri, Apple's web-based assistant, get into bed with Microsoft to use Bing for its searches. I hate Siri. I've got Siri on here right now. Like, other than asking about the weather, it just, don't sue me, Apple. In my experience, Siri has not been brilliant, but that might not reflect the opinions of other users. Siri got into bed with Microsoft to use Bing for its searches. That must have made it even worse. Google managed to tempt them back with an annual payment of $3 billion per year. It goes to show that if all else fails, get out the checkbook and your bank balance can do the talking. For this reason, smaller companies have to toe the line or risk being shut out of the marketplace altogether. I don't know how big a company DuckDuckGo is, but I can't imagine they've got a giant chance of writing a check for $3 billion a year to be used on like Apple phones, iPhones, Apple phones, what the f. You might be forgiven for thinking that this has little to do with customers and it's all about a race to the top between the titans of cybercommerce. Absolutely, I do think that. And it is! Steve agrees with me. They can afford to gamble on a new internet phone or a tablet that doesn't fly off the shelves. It's a bit of a win-win as far as they're concerned. The more tech they manage to get through the door of people's homes, the closer they come to world domination through their devices and programs. And they're kind of already there, like, my life is dominated by Google. I use Google Search, I use Drive. Is Skype owned by... No, that's actually Microsoft that owns Skype, but wow, it's dominated by these guys. And you've probably noticed that the likes of Facebook have been busy turning their site into a one-stop shop for the internet where you don't need to go anywhere else on the web. I don't actually know that. Facebook is one of the few sites, like I love Twitter, I make my living on YouTube, but Facebook is one of the ones that I don't really use so much. I think I did start a fan page on there because I felt like, I should do something on Facebook. I think I had like 60 likes, which isn't so great. Ultimately, these big beasts, they want to absorb the internet itself into their global empires. I don't think that's possible, really, Steve, but I mean, I get it. They want to become completely dominant, but then the government's gonna stop them, like Microsoft in the 90s. You can't be so dominant. It's not good. Once that happens, they can install whatever search engines they like on the products, and the majority of people will be too apathetic to care. Probably evidenced by the fact that a third of people in the US have used Bing search. It's just apathy. In 2013, 3 years before Bing started getting a piece of the search engine pie, oh yeah, because they were profitable in 2016, Microsoft CEO and all-round colorful character, indeed, Steve Ballmer bowed out of the company. He was a cheerleader for Bing, and in retrospect it seems that his enthusiasm has been borne out. Probably one of the few things that people remember positively about Steve Ballmer then. The previous year, oh yeah, okay, here we go. The previous year, Vanity Fair wrote a less than flattering piece about his tenure, saying, to quote, "Amid a dynamic and ever-changing marketplace, Microsoft, which declined to comment for this article, became a high-tech equivalent of a Detroit car maker, bringing flashier models of the same thing off the assembly line, even as its competitors upended the world. Most of its innovations have been financial debacles or of little consequence to the bottom line." If you haven't seen Steve Ballmer's like Microsoft annual, it's a great watch. It's maximum level cringe. Bing demonstrated that with a bit of creative thinking and more than a little financial muscle, a supposedly failed enterprise can become a success. Even in my mind, Bing was a failed enterprise, and here we are. It makes them, what, $7.5 billion a year? I would like my failures to make me $7.5 billion a year. That'd be nice. A couple of bonus facts from Steve, the other Steve. About Steve Ballmer by Steve, the writer. Steve Ballmer was known for his exaggerated style as Microsoft CEO. That's that crazy video. But he certainly wasn't a man to be crossed. He reportedly fired an unlucky employee in 2009 for not saying the word Bing enthusiastically enough when Ballmer requested him. Say it enthusiastically, John! Say it! Bing, Bing! You're fired, John! Get the out. Talk about Bing and a man to his knees. Funny, Steve. That's good. Another bonus fact. Of course, Bing isn't the only company to have tried beating Google at its own game. Other pretenders to the throne include Cool, which is spelled cool but pronounced cool. C-U-I-L. That's never a good idea. Like, yeah, just go to cool.com. No one's gonna go to cool, C-O-L.com, not C-U-I-L. That's just not a good idea. You gotta have it. You gotta have an easy to pronounce name, like Bing or Google. The other ones, DirectHit, InfoSeek, and Hotbot. These all kind of sound like Web 1.0 names. I guess they're pretty old. They're distinctive names, they did indeed, yet ultimately customers didn't find them memorable enough to stick with them. No, they did not, and that's why Google is king. I love Google. Google's pretty awesome. Bing seems totally fine. Bing is definitely not a failure. I really hope you enjoyed this video. This has been Business Blaze, the Microsoft side hustle. I love this one. I found this super interesting. If you've got suggestions for Business Blaze, we'll get something written. We'll go through it together. It'll be a lot of fun. At least I hope you found it fun. Please do hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you next time.